What if I told you that a simple gesture or the refusal of one could bring a multi-million viewer game show to a complete halt? Welcome to Harvey's Highlights. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss these jaw-dropping Family Feud moments. Today, we're diving into the episode where Steve Harvey literally stopped the show when a contestant refused to shake hands. It started like any other episode, with Steve Harvey greeting the two families and cracking his usual jokes. Welcome to Family Feud. Let's play a game and see which one of you is smarter than the average American. His infectious energy had everyone laughing and clapping. But tension started building quickly during the first round. One contestant, a young man named Marcus, repeatedly refused to shake hands with members of the opposing team after Steve introduced them. Steve, noticing the awkwardness, raised an eyebrow and said, "Oh, what's going on here? I thought we were going to have some good sportsmanship." The host approached him gently. "Marcus, come on now, man. It's just a handshake. We're all here to have fun." Marcus crossed his arms and replied firmly, "I don't want to shake anyone's hand." Steve's smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of disbelief. "You don't want to shake hands? Are you serious right now?" The audience murmured, sensing the tension. Steve held up his hands, motioning for calm. "All right, everybody, hold on a second. Let's take a pause here." He turned to the production crew. "Stop the cameras. I need to clear the air before we go any further." Offstage, the crew scrambled while Steve approached Marcus. "Look, man, you don't have to like everyone, but this is about respect. It's about playing the game the right way. We can't have an episode where someone refuses to acknowledge the other team. That's not Family Feud." Marcus remained resolute. "I just can't do it. I'm not comfortable." Steve exhaled, shaking his head. "Man, sometimes life puts you in situations where you don't feel comfortable, but you still have to show respect. This isn't just about a handshake. It's about what kind of person you are when cameras are rolling and families are watching." The studio went silent. You could feel the tension hanging in the air like a thick fog. Even the opposing family looked puzzled, unsure how to react. Steve, ever the mediator, decided to turn the moment into a teachable one. "Listen, people. It's not the points, it's not the money. It's about being decent human beings. This show? It's a reflection of life. And life will test you. It will push you to do uncomfortable things. And sometimes, it's the small gestures, the handshakes, the nods that define your character." Marcus finally looked down, his arms still crossed. I get that." Steve nodded slowly. "Good. That's all I needed to hear. Now, let's figure out how to move forward without anyone feeling disrespected." The camera crew resumed rolling, but the atmosphere had shifted. Steve's intervention had diffused a potential meltdown, turning what could have been an awkward and tense episode into a lesson on respect, empathy, and navigating difficult moments under pressure. The round continued. The families began playing with a mix of caution and laughter, and Steve, with his signature charm, reminded everyone, "Remember, the game is fun, but respect, that's forever." This was one of those rare Family Feud episodes where a handshake, or the lack of one, stopped the show, creating a moment that viewers would never forget. The tension didn't fully vanish once the cameras started rolling again. Marcus, still uneasy, took his position on the stage, while the opposing team glanced at each other, unsure how to respond. Steve, sensing the fragile atmosphere, leaned into his role as both host and mediator. "Marcus," Steve said warmly, "I know this is uncomfortable, but sometimes the right thing to do isn't the easiest thing. It's about showing a little grace." Marcus sighed and muttered, "I understand, but it just feels weird to me." Steve chuckled lightly, trying to ease the tension. "Weird? That's fair. Life is full of weird moments. But that's how you grow. That's how you show strength, even in small ways." The audience, sensing a teachable moment, started clapping slowly. You could hear murmurs of agreement and nods from the other family members. The atmosphere shifted from awkward to contemplative. Steve turned to the opposing team, a family of 5, and addressed them with his signature humor. "Now, y'all don't take this the wrong way. Marcus here is a strong-minded young man. but we're going to help him out, just like life sometimes helps us figure things out. One of the opposing players, a young woman named Lisa, smiled cautiously and extended her hand toward Marcus. I know you don't want to do this, but maybe we can just try? Marcus hesitated, eyes darting between Steve and Lisa. Okay, I'll try. As their hands met, Steve let out a relieved laugh. There it is. That's all it takes, people. A little courage, a little respect, and just like that, we're back in the game. But Steve wasn't done. Turning to the audience, he raised a finger, emphasizing the lesson in the moment. Sometimes people think the game is about points or money, but the real points are scored in how we treat each other. That's what counts. The round resumed, and Marcus's team gained momentum. Steve used humor to keep the mood light, quipping, "See, folks? Nothing like a little tension to remind us that life isn't always smooth. But you can handle it with class, or with a handshake." A few questions later, another awkward moment arose when Marcus hesitated to answer a survey question. Steve paused and said, "Hey, don't overthink it, man. It's just a game. But it's the kind of game that shows who you are when the spotlight is on you." Marcus smiled faintly, nodding, and answered the question correctly, earning a loud cheer from the audience. Steve clapped him on the shoulder and whispered, "See? You got this. You just needed a little nudge." Throughout the rest of the show, Steve continued to guide Marcus, using humor and wisdom in equal measure. The handshake incident became a turning point in the episode, a reminder that Family Feud isn't just about guessing popular survey answers. It's about patience, respect, and human connection. Even at the end of the episode, after the winning family celebrated, Steve addressed the camera directly, speaking to viewers at home. Sometimes, it's not the prize money, it's not the winning points. It's these moments that matter. Life will test you in ways you don't expect and how you respond. That's the real victory. The episode ended on a reflective note, leaving viewers with more than just laughs. They were reminded that even on a game show stage, life lessons can appear in the most unexpected ways. As the cameras continued rolling, the tension lingered like a quiet storm. Marcus's team, still processing the earlier handshake incident, seemed more focused now, as if they understood that Steve wasn't just hosting a game show. He was orchestrating a lesson in humility and respect. Steve walked down the center of the stage, eyes scanning the players. "All right now, y'all, let's remember something. Family Feud isn't just about knowing what people think. It's about knowing what you stand for, even when it's uncomfortable." One of Marcus's teammates, a younger cousin named Jamal, leaned toward him and whispered, "You okay, man?" Marcus exhaled sharply. "Yeah, I think so. I just didn't want to embarrass myself in front of everyone." Steve, overhearing, laughed gently. "Marcus, embarrassment is just a little spice life throws in. You survived it before and you'll survive it now. But the real test, it's what you do next. That's what counts." The next survey question came up, and Marcus hesitated. The clock ticked, and the audience leaned forward, sensing the suspense. Steve, sensing another teachable moment, leaned in and said softly, "It's okay to pause. Just don't freeze. Take a breath. Trust yourself." Marcus smiled faintly, took a breath, and answered correctly. The crowd erupted in applause. Steve clapped loudly, shouting, "Now that's what I'm talking about. See, people? Courage isn't about never being scared. It's about moving forward even when you are." Steve then turned to the opposing team, who had been silently watching the dynamics unfold. "Y'all, don't think you're just spectators here. How you respond to moments like this says more about you than any survey answer ever could." Lisa, the opposing team member who had offered her hand earlier, nodded and said, "I get it now. It's about respect, even when it's awkward." "Exactly," Steve said, leaning on the podium. "Life is awkward. Life is messy. And sometimes you just gotta do the right thing, even if it's uncomfortable. That's what makes people, well, people." The next few rounds played out with Marcus showing more confidence. He even cracked a joke about the earlier handshake, making the audience laugh and easing the tension further. Steve laughed along with him. See that? Humor is your best friend when life puts you in tight spots. Laugh, breathe, and keep moving forward. Midway through, a younger player on Marcus's team asked Steve, Mr. Harvey, did people really yell at you when you were our age? Steve shook his head, smiling warmly. Oh man, don't get me started. Life will always have those moments. But the difference is you learn how to handle them. You don't have to like it, but you can learn from it. By the final round, Marcus's team had regained their momentum. Even the opposing family seemed more cooperative, as if Steve's guidance had softened the earlier friction. When the last survey was revealed, the applause was deafening. Marcus smiled proudly, and Steve gave him a hearty pat on the back. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you turn a tough moment into a winning moment. It's not always about the money or the points. It's about learning something about yourself along the way. The audience clapped, some standing, while Steve addressed the camera one last time. We come here for laughs, sure, but sometimes life teaches lessons right in front of your eyes. And today, Marcus and his team reminded us all that respect, courage, and a little humility are worth more than any prize. The energy in the studio had shifted completely. What began as tension and confrontation had slowly transformed into reflection and understanding. Steve Harvey stood center stage, arms open, his voice resonating across the room. Look here, y'all. Moments like these, they aren't just about Family Feud. They're about life. How you carry yourself, how you treat others, how you face awkward, uncomfortable situations. That is what people remember. Marcus's team huddled together briefly, whispering and nodding. Jamal spoke up. I didn't realize it would feel like this. Like we were learning more than just survey answers. Exactly, Steve said, pointing a finger with emphasis. Games are temporary. Lessons are forever. And let me tell you something. If you can walk away from a moment like that with your dignity intact, you're winning at life already. The opposing team, who had initially been caught up in the earlier drama, now approached Marcus's team. Lisa, the team member who had first extended her hand, stepped forward. Marcus, I want to apologize. I should have done more to help smooth things over. You didn't deserve that. Marcus, clearly moved, nodded. Thank you, Lisa. That means a lot. Steve clapped his hands. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we turn a mess into a message. That's why I love this show. Not because of the points or the prizes, but because it reminds us all to be better, to do better. He leaned closer to the camera, addressing viewers at home. And for everyone watching, remember this. Life will test you. People will challenge you. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's loud. But how you respond, that's your true measure. Marcus's confidence had clearly returned. He joked to his team, next time, I'm shaking hands no matter what, even if someone tries to roast my shoes. The crowd erupted in laughter, and Steve chuckled heartily, adding, Amen to that, young man. Humor and grace. That's how you survive anything. The next survey question came up, and this time Marcus answered immediately, no hesitation. Steve leaned on the podium and said, Now that's what I'm talking about. Look at that focus. That's what happens when you let go of fear and just show up for life. Meanwhile, the audience, once buzzing with tension, now cheered with genuine enthusiasm. Camera operators caught smiles, claps, and nods, capturing the emotional turnaround in real time. Steve turned to Marcus and said, You handled yourself today in a way most grown-ups couldn't. I am proud of you, man. Proud of all of you. That's what this show is really about. Seeing the best in people even when the worst shows up first. Marcus, humbled, replied softly, Thank you, Mr. Harvey. I just didn't want to let everyone down. Steve placed a hand on his shoulder. You didn't. You rose up. And sometimes, that's the hardest thing to do. By the end of the show, everyone was laughing, joking, and reflecting. Even the handshake incident became a light-hearted story that Steve teased Marcus about, and the families left the stage with a sense of camaraderie none could have predicted at the start. As the final moments of the episode unfolded, the studio felt lighter, almost like a collective exhale had swept through the room. Steve Harvey paced slowly across the stage, his eyes scanning the contestants, their families, and the live audience. "You see," he began, "this isn't just a game. This is a reflection of how we live our lives. You can be the smartest, the fastest, the funniest, but if you can't treat people with respect, all that doesn't mean a thing." Marcus stood tall, still slightly red from earlier emotions, but now radiating confidence. He smiled at the opposing team and said, "Look, I get it now. It wasn't about winning the game or proving a point. It was about showing who I am and owning it." Steve nodded, pointing to him. "That's right. That's exactly right. And let me tell you, that is what people at home need to see. That courage to stand firm, to handle conflict with your head held high. That's what makes a difference in this world." Lisa from the opposing team chimed in, her voice sincere. "Marcus, I wasn't fair to you at first. I judged you too quickly. Seeing you react the way you did, it's inspiring." Marcus grinned. "Thanks, Lisa. And I forgive you. That's what today taught me. Letting go of anger, letting go of pride. You gotta move forward, not backward." Steve raised both hands, looking around the studio. "Give it up for that. That right there is a lesson for every single person watching this at home. Life will throw you curveballs. People will test you. And sometimes the world will challenge your very patience. But it's how you respond that defines you." He paused, letting the words sink in. Then, with a mischievous grin, he added, "And don't think I forgot about that handshake, young man. Next time, we're making sure you shake hands. No exceptions. No excuses." The audience erupted in laughter and applause. Even the family members who had been tense earlier were smiling, shaking their heads, and joking about the incident. Cameras captured hugs, handshakes, and pats on the back. It was a scene that transformed from confrontation to celebration, all in one episode. Steve turned to the camera one last time. "For everyone at home watching, remember this. Life isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about facing it. It's about finding the courage to be your best self, even when it's hard. And sometimes, just sometimes, it takes a game show to remind us of that." As the credits began to roll, Marcus and his team waved. The opposing team waved back, and the laughter and chatter filled the studio. Steve Harvey took a final deep breath and said softly, almost to himself, That's what it's all about. People, real moments, and the lessons we walk away with." The episode ended not just as a game show, but as a story of growth, reflection, and the human spirit rising above tension and conflict.